Here are the top things that I don't like about Daredevil Born Again now that the season is fully completed. Obviously, spoilers ahead for Daredevil Born Again Season 1. Number one, and one of my biggest problems with this show narratively, is just basically their issues with things they set up and delivering very poorly. For example, showing us Frank Castle as early as episode 4, and then him not coming back in the show into the finale, showing Karen Page in episode 1, and then writing her off as well into the finale, telling us that they were rewriting the show and bringing the original cast back, like Karen Page and Foggy Nelson, and then having them essentially writ off the show entirely or for most of the season. It was very disappointing. Another example would be Bullseye showing up and shooting Daredevil and then not being in the next episode really at all except for one small cameo appearance at the end of the finale. And the decision for Matt to jump in front of Kingpin is also just narratively confusing because, as Matt says in the finale episode, he doesn't even know why he did it, so I'm even more confused as an audience member. Also, this example goes further into things like Daredevil saying that they need to build an army, and then the army we get is Cherry and Josie from the bar and then some random cops. The other issues I have with the show are more visual. So this is a night shot from the original Daredevil Netflix series. You can see how it's stylistic, how the show tends to have a lot of orange hues with their lighting, and most of all, it is dark outside in New York, especially close to the camera here. We have the back lit well by the building so that we can kind of establish, something to understand what's in frame, but it's dark up close here with the shadows. In the Born Again season, it looks a lot more like this, where everything is more evenly lit. I mean, you can still tell it's nighttime, but obviously it looks like they shot day for night or just studio for night, because this is more likely just a studio rooftop with a blue tarp in the background. And it is really cool that they brought Frank Castle back. But even though that's exciting, a lot of the scenes we get with him are gruesome and entertaining. They still show a lot of CGI blood that doesn't seem to have had the time to be finished to look extremely well to pass the eye test, and they're not really using any practical blood much from what I can see in the show, which would be really nice to see and make it a lot more believable. They'll also just use quick throwaway lines to explain the context of what happened in the show off screen for years, like Vanessa sitting in prison with Bullseye saying the corruption that happened with Ray Nadeem and all that. And all that, just to say that that's how her husband Wilson Fisk was acquitted of his crimes. That doesn't really explain anything or make any logical sense as to how a person who is convicted of conspiracy to commit so many murders would be let off because of something to do with Ray Nadeem and all that. Ultimately, it brings me to my final and biggest complaint about the entire show, which is that Matt spends incredibly little time in the actual Daredevil suit. I know that you guys are going to tell me he didn't show up in the Daredevil suit in season 1 until the last episode, but he was dressed in a Daredevil suit